Gimel.
Gimel.
Beit Shammai says one does not move a ladder from a dovecote to a dovecote, but one inclines it from an opening to an opening. Beit Hillel permits this, but Beit Shammai says one does not take unless he stirred them while there was still day. And Beit Hillel says he stands and says, I will take this one and this one. If he prepared black but found white, and white but found black, two but found three, they are forbidden. Three but they found two, they are permitted. Within the coat and he found in front of the coat, they are forbidden. But if there are none there except these, they are permitted. Beit Shammai says one does not remove the shutters on Yom Tov, but Beis Hillel permits even to return. Beit Shammai says one may not take the pestle to cut meat on it, but Beis Hillel permits it. Beit Shammai says one does not place the hide before the treading place, and he may not pick it up unless it has on it an olive's bulk of meat. But Beis Hillel permits this. Beit Shammai says one does not take the infant or the lulav or the Torah scroll into the public thoroughfare, but Beis Hillel permits this. Okay.
Right. Beis Shammai says, Ein molichin chala umatanas lakohen b'yom tov. Okay. You're not allowed to give chala or the matanos are the pieces of an animal that after you shechted it, what's it the zeroa lechayim b'keva. Okay, those are the parts of any chulin animal that gets shechted that automatically must be given to a kohen, much like truma and challah. And Beis Shammai is saying that you cannot give those to a kohen on Yom Tov. Bein shehurmu me'emesh, bein shehurmu me'hayom. And it doesn't matter whether that you separated them out yesterday or today. In other words, before Yom Tov or not before Yom Tov, you're not allowed to take them to the kohen on Yom Tov. Beis Hillel matirin. Um, and we're going to see the reasoning in just a second. Why does Beis Shammai forbid this? Amr lahem Beis Shammai gezer shava. They said it's not really a true gezer shava over here. Like a true gezer shava is when you take two psukim that have got the same words in the Torah and learn it out. But what they're learning is similarity in cases. Okay. Gezer shava chala umatanos matana lekohen. Okay, so when you've got both the chala and the matanos are considered a gift to the kohen. Truma matana lekohen. Okay, so truma is also a gift to the kohen. Kashem she'ein molichin is a truma, kach ein molichin is a matanos. Just like you cannot take the truma to the kohen, you cannot take the other the chala and the matanos. Okay. And apparently Beis Hillel agrees about the halacha of truma, that you can't take truma to the kohen on Yom Tov. Now, why is this? But we'll see this again in the logic in Beis Hillel. Amr lehem Beis Hillel, lo, im amartim b'truma she'eino zakai b'haramasa. So when it does produce become liable to truma? When you have miruach hakri, okay, you've finished your work on the produce, you smooth out the pile, and now it becomes liable to truma, which means miruach hakri cannot be done on Shabbos or Yom Tov. That's a
Right.
malacha to finish it off. Okay, so being that it had to have been the chiyuv of truma had to have come about before Yom Tov, you should have separated out the truma before Yom Tov and therefore given it to the kohen on Yom Tov, and therefore we don't allow you even if you separated the truma before Yom Tov, we don't allow you to take it to the kohen on Yom Tov because it should have been done before Yom Tov. But Tomru b'matanas shezakai v'haramasan. When you're talking about challah and about the matanas from a shechted animal, those things you're allowed to do on Yom Tov. You're allowed to bake bread on Yom Tov. You're allowed to knead the dough and make everything. And at the time that it becomes chayiv for challah, that's on Yom Tov itself. Okay, and the same thing goes for the matanas. You're allowed to shech the animal on Yom Tov,
Yeah.
right? So now then the chiyuv of the matanas happens on Yom Tov, and therefore you're allowed to separate them out on Yom Tov as well. So it says Beis Hillel, this is the cases are not comparable. We agree that truma you cannot do because truma should have been done before Yom Tov, but these things that happen on Yom Tov you can do. Okay, Mishnah Zayin. Shammai omrim tavlin nidochin b'madoch shel eitz. So in general, spices, if you're going to crush spices on Yom Tov, you should do a shinoi. Because it's a malacha that's permitted because spices are lose their freshness if you crush them before Yom Tov. But nonetheless, Beis Shammai wants you to do it with a shinoi. Now, melach, salt, bepach, ube'etz haparur. Um, it should be done in a thing of earthenware, not in a regular pestle. Over eitzah paror, with a spoon that you normally stir it. So it's like a double shinoi over here that you've got to both the mortar and pestle have to be replaced by less
Right.
appropriate kalim if you want to crush salt, because salt really could be crushed before and it doesn't lose any flavor. Okay. Beis Hillel omrim tavli nidochin kedarkan b'madoch shel eben. There's absolutely no reason to use a shinoi when it comes to spices. It's mutar to crush them on Yom Tov for the first time, um, but salt, which could have been done before, melach b'madoch shel eitz. There will they fall back to what Beis Shammai says needs to be done for regular spices for salt. So you do need to do it with a shinoi because you could have done it before, but nonetheless
All right.
we permit it, and you can crush the salt if you need to on Yom Tov using a shinoi. Um, Haborer kitnis b'Yom Tov. Okay, you've got legumes that need to be sorted out. Now, let's say peas you want to separate out from the pod or whatever. You've got or shells or different legumes have got different psolet that you want to separate out. Okay, so now the borer is allowed on Yom Tov. You wouldn't be allowed to do this on Shabbos, but Yom Tov is fine. Beis Shammai omrim borer ochel v'ochel. So what you must do is separate out the food and eat it. Okay, always take the ochel from the psoles and you can eat it. Beis Hillel omrim borer kedarko b'cheiko b'kanon v'tamchoi. You can do this the normal way that you would do it. Put it in your lap and sort this one that side, this one that way. Whatever is your normal way of doing it on Chol is fine to do on Yom Tov. B'kanon of a tamchoy in a bowl or what are the how's it translate kanon?
A lap, a basket, or into a dish, but not on
Okay.
a board of sift or
Well, lo
sieve.
b'tavla, v'lo b'napa, v'lo b'kvar, but you cannot use a specialized kli. So you can't use a sifter. That's the specialized kli. Um, it's just why. This looks like he's when you're using a specialized kli, the concern is that this looks like you're preparing also for tomorrow because it's the sort of thing that you'd use for a large quantity and you only really allowed to do for what you need for Yom Tov. So that's the gezerah that Beis Hillel say is that even so you cannot use that specialized kli. Um, okay, Rabban Gamliel omer af mediach v'sholeh. You can even put water onto the legumes to allow the psolet to float up, and so the water separates them. So the legumes stay at the bottom, and the psolet floats up. You scoop off the psolet, and it's nice and easy. But the halacha is not like Rabban Gamliel, because again, for the same reason as we don't allow specialized kli, this is the sort of thing that you would do for large quantities. And we don't want you to start preparing extra quantities for after Yom Tov.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. We're back to Sukkah.
Yeah, Sukkah, Gimel Tesvav.
This one. Okay. A woman is permitted to accept from the hand of her son or a husband and replace it in water on Shabbos. Rabbi Yehuda says on Shabbos it may be replaced. On Yom Tov, one may add that on the intermediate days one changes. A minor who knows how to wave is obligated. The lulav and arava lasted for 6 or 7. Halal and rejoicing are 8, and sukkah and the water libation for 7. The flute 5 or 6. How with the lulav 7? If the first day of the festival fell on Shabbos, the lulav was 7. Any of the remaining days 6.
Okay. Um, right, Yoma.
Yom. Okay. I have something else here. Why do I have something else here? I don't know why I did this, but okay. All right. Okay. Yoma. Go. And we have Vav.
Yep.
If a scholar was lectured If he was a scholar, he lectured, but if not, scholars would lecture before him. If he was accustomed to read scripture, he would read, but if not, they would read to him. And from what did they read to him? From Yoav, from Ezra, and from Chronicles. Zechariah ben Kivutul says many times that read before him before the nail. If he wished to doze, young men of the priesthood separated snappily before him with the index finger, and they said to him, "My lord, come and God will stand up and cool off once on the floor." And they kept him busy until the time for slaughtering the daily offering arrived. Every day they removed the ashes from the altar at the call of the crier or thereabout, either before it or after it. On Yom Kippur it was done from midnight, and on the three festivals from the first watch. And yet before the call of the crier, the court was ready, already filled with Jews.
Okay.
Okay.
Shabbos.
Okay. Yud Tes Gimel. We may bathe the infant both prior to the circumcision and following circumcision, when we may sprinkle water upon him by hand, but not with utensil. But Elazar ben Azariah says we may bathe the infant on the third day following circumcision when it occurs on Shabbos, as it is said, and it came to pass on the third day when they were in pain. A questionable one or an androgen, we may not violate Sabbath on his behalf. Rabbi Yehuda, however, permits it in the case of an androgen. One who had two infants, one to circumcise after Shabbos and one to circumcise on Shabbos, and had forgotten to circumcise the one who to be circumcised after the Sabbath, and on the Sabbath he is liable. On the Sabbath he is liable. If he had one to circumcise before Sabbath and one to circumcise on Shabbos, he forgotten to circumcise the one who to be circumcised before the Shabbos on Shabbos. Reb Eliezer declares him liable for a sin offering, but Reb Yeshua exempts him. If an infant may be circumcised either on the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th day, but not earlier, not later. How is this? In the normal course, he is circumcised on the 8th. If he was born at twilight, he is circumcised on the 9th. If he was born at twilight on the eve of Shabbos, he is circumcised on the 10th. If the festival falls after Shabbos, he is circumcised on the 11th. In the case of two festival days of Rosh Hashanah, he is circumcised on the 12th. A sick infant may circumcise him until he recovers. Okay. Brachos. Okay. Whoever enters a walled city recites two prayers, one when entering and one when leaving. Ben Azai says four, two when enters and two when leaving. One gives thanks for the past and supplicates for the future. One is obliged to bless for the evil, just as one blesses for the good, since it is said, "And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your life, and with all your might, with all your heart and both your inclinations, both the good and the bad, and with all your life, even at the cost of your life, and with all the might, with all your maternal possessions." Another interpretation of "with all your might." Whatever the treatment meets out to you, thank him very much. Thank him very, very much. One should avoid showing disrespect in the direction of the eastern gate because it is in direct line with the Holy of Holies. One may not enter the temple not with a stick, with the shoes, with his wallet, or the dust on his feet, nor may one make it a shortcut or to spit. All the concluding formulas of brachos in the temple include the saying of forever. When the heretics saw corruptly, they said, "There is only one world." They instituted that they should say from everlasting to everlasting. They also ordained that people should greet one another with use of the name, as it is said, "And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem and said to his reapers, the Lord be with you." And they replied, "The Lord bless you." And it says, "God to be with you, you mighty man of valor." And it says, "Despise not your mother when she is old." And it says, "It is time to act for the Lord. They have made void your Torah." But Nathan says, "They have made void your Torah because it is time for the act of the Lord."
Adrian Alach, Maseches Brachos, and one from Peah. Have you got Peah out?
I pay out, all ready to go.
Yay.
There we go. Aleph Aleph. These things have to no measure. The corner, the fruits, the rayon, these of loving kindness and study of the Torah. These are the things, the fruits of which a man enjoys in the world, and the principle remains for him in the world to come. The honoring of one's father and mother, and deeds of loving kindness, and making peace between man and his fellow, and the study of Torah is equal to all of them. Okay.
Okay.
And we are on to Midos.
Yep.
Okay. Midos, here we go. Dalet. All the walls that were there, based on all the walls that were there were very high except for the eastern wall, so that the Kohen who burned the paraduma would stand atop the Mount of Olives and direct his gaze through the Hakel entrance at the time of the sprinkling of the blood. The women's closet was 135 amos in length and 135 amos in width, and there were four chambers at its four corners, each with a length of 40 amos. These chambers were not roofed, and that is how they were destined to be. For it stated, "The angel brought me out into the outer courtyard and led me past the four corners of the courtyard. And behold, an enclosure at one corner of the courtyard, an enclosure at one corner of the courtyard, and the four corners of the courtyard. There were two enclosures that were known as ketoros. And the term ketoros denotes nothing other than the fact they were unroofed. And what was their function? In the southeastern chamber was the chamber of the Nazirim. For they were the Nazirim would cook their shlamim offerings and shave their hair and cast their shorn hair beneath the cauldron. The northeastern chamber was the chamber of the wood, for they were Kohanim who physically blemished wood, would sort out the wormy pieces of wood, and any piece of wood in which a worm was found was disqualified being used upon the altar. The northwest chamber, it was the chamber of the Mitzorim, regarding the southwest chamber. Reb Eliezer said, Yaakov said, I have forgotten what function it served. Abishal says they used to place wine and oil there, and it was called the Chamber of Housing of Oils. It was usually smooth, and they surrounded it with balconies so that the women could watch from above and men from below, so they should not be intermingled. And 50 steps ascended from the women's courtyard to the Israelite courtyard, spreading on the 15 songs of ascents that are found in the Psalms. For upon these steps, the leaving with other song, these 15 steps were not straight, rather they were rounded like half a circular threshing floor. And there were chambers beneath this Israelites' courtyard, which were open to the women's courtyard. There the Levian would place harps, lyres, cymbals, and all other musical instruments. The Israelites' courtyard was 135 amos in length by 11 amos in width. And similarly, the Kohan's courtyard was 135 amos in length by 11 amos in width. And the ends of beams separated between the Israelites' courtyard and the Kohanim courtyard. And Eliezer ben Yaakov says it was a step there, 1 amma high. And a platform rested upon it, and the platform with 3 steps, each with a height of a high half an amma. It was found that the Kohanim's courtyard is higher than the Israelites' courtyard by 2.5 amos. The entire courtyard was 187 amos in length and 135 amos in width, and there were 13 prostrations there. Abba Yosef ben Canaan said, corresponding to the 13 gateways of the courtyard. The southern gateway is adjusted to the west of the upper gate, the kindling gate, the gate of the firstborns, and the water gate. And why was it named the water gate? Because through it they would bring the flask of water for libation, so it's a coat. Eliezer ben Yaakov says, and because there were streams of water water is as wide as the width which issues from a flask, and the future will emerge from underneath the threshold of the temple. And opposite the southern gateways in the north, adjacent to the west, the gate of Yekonia, the gate of the offering, the women's gate, the gate of the song. And why was it called the gate of Yekonia? Because through Yekonia exited the courtyard when he was exiled. In the east was the Nickel gate, and the Nickel gate had 2 minor doorways, one to its right and one to its left, and 2 gateways in the west that did not have any name. Okay.
And
Oh,
Rav
oh,
Matzia.
yeah. Okay. Daled Gimel. If one was working with, sorry, was that right? Zion Gimel, sorry.
Yeah.
Right. If one was working with his hands, but not with his feet, or with his feet, but not with his hands, or even with his shoulders, he may eat. But Yossi, the son of Yehuda, says he may not eat unless he works with his hands and his feet. If he was working with the figs, he may not partake of the grapes. With the grapes, he may not partake of the figs, but he may abstain until he reaches the place of the best fruits and eat. Concerning all of these, the rabbi said they may eat only at the time of work. When in order to avoid a loss to his owner, they said the laborers may eat while walking from row to row and when they return from the winepress. Concerning a donkey, he may eat when it is being unloaded. The laborer may eat a cucumber even if it's worth a dinner, or a date even if it's worth a dinner. If Elazar Kisma says a laborer not eat an excess of his wages, the sages permit it, but maintain that we should teach a person not to be a glutton unless he shut the door in his face.
Okay.
A person makes
That's it.
that's
That's
it.
it. Yeah.
Okay. Good.